Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome into a short video today. We are covering today the how-tos on the ciphers from episode 3 of the Hunt to Killer series, The Moon Summit Mysteries. These were some very difficult ciphers that we found. We during our episode, if you have not seen that episode, I'll link it up right up there so you can go watch that and then come back here and understand why we're doing this as a separate video. But we could not solve these two ciphers, these three ciphers really, uh, during our live stream episode, and had to spend. How much time did you spend after that
I had
episode?
to have been in here while you were doing streaming for at least another hour,
Yeah, I
and I
want to say
got
it was
one
like
of
one
them.
to two
Yeah, it
hours.
was it
That
was
yeah.
hard.
So it definitely took us some time. So we wanted to do something a little bit separate on how to actually get to this point. Now, spoiler warnings right up front. So if you haven't seen any of the previous episodes, again, just check out our playlist for that. If you are working on the Moon Summit Mystery and you're here to help yourself along, and you're not quite at this point, and maybe you're on episode 1 or episode 2, then come back after when you're ready for the episode 3, just so you don't end up with any kind of spoilers. We will split this video into kind of two halves. So the first half is going to be covering some hints and get you pretty much to the point where then you will be able to solve the cipher and the puzzle. And then the second half of the video, we will go back and we will actually finish out the cipher and show you step by step to the finish of then revealing what the answer actually is. So that second half of the video will absolutely contain some major spoilers if you have not hit that point. So again, we'll make sure that when we get to that point that I do kind of a hard cut off of that. Hey, this is where you need to stop if that's what you're looking to do is try to solve it on your own, but just needed a little bit of help. So with that, let's get into our video. Okay, so welcome back. Let's say we are going to start with a couple of ciphers, right? So this one is the Untamed Wilderness. It was the safety protocols page
Hmm.
that came in with the episode 3. This came in the box, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
and it has this like code at the top of it that you see right here, right? So this. Uh in all honesty, we this was one we did not solve. We've done the backtracking of being able to figure it out, but of how to figure it out. But in all honesty, this one, and we'll explain why here in a second, was just way too difficult for us to get. We got up to the point of knowing how to solve it, but just could not solve it. But basically, this we're going to look at these little symbols here. If you log in and use your code, like it comes with a little card like this in the box, right, that says hints, recaps on solutions. So if you use the code that comes in the box for that, it does take you to a hints page, and we can kind of cover that as well right now. The With the safety protocols, your first hint is that it relates back to the hiking medallion that was from episode 2. So Red Panda's got that right there. So that little hiking, Moon Summit hiking medallion right there for you. There's some markings on the back of it. Hopefully you can see that well enough. And we weren't sure what that was while we were looking in episode 2, but in episode 3, then this became clear that okay, it's similar markings to what we're seeing on this. That didn't quite help us on what that meant, on how to solve it. But your next hint, I should say, is that there's two symbols: a small rabbit track and a large rabbit track, and they relate to a common method of communication. Now, we were having to use some of these hints and look at some of this stuff, I think, during our episode. So that hint right there automatically helped me figure out what this was, which is that it's Morse code. Um, and so your next hint, if you didn't get that far, but it does tell you, is that the small rabbit track represents a dot and the large rabbit track represents a dash. And Morse code is being made up of dots and dashes to make your letters. Now, all of that is stuff we were pretty much able to kind of discern or figure out. The part that we couldn't figure out and get was the spacing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was
So
realizing how small it looked on there.
yeah, so if you notice on here, I mean it's literally just dots and dashes lined up against each other. Now, we are filming this after the fact. We were able to, kind of discern that, this is a word, this is a word, this is a word. This slash here was to separate two words that were on the same line. This is also a word, and this is a word. In all honesty, I mean, if you're able to figure out by looking at this where the spacing is, you are amazing. I'm going to tell you that right now because we could not for the life of us figure it out.
Mm-mm.
We thought we had it.
Mm-hmm.
Literally thought we had an entire, had it solved, and it made words. And then we were like, but something just doesn't seem right. And so we actually checked the reveals for the answer and found out that we were way wrong.
Took a detour off in Timbuktu.
Yeah, way wrong.
Yeah.
So to help you all out with this, to make it a little bit easier, so if that part is all you needed, great. Stop here. If you think you can solve it at that point, then great. But otherwise, we're going to draw some lines here. So this is strange. Red Panda's putting some stuff down on the paper here, visually. And then I'll go ahead and draw this on the board here as well for you all to see. There we go. Okay. So basically what we're looking at is these first two right there, right? That is a letter. So the two dots, so if you just Google Morse code, you're going to come up with, you can find something such as, wrong thing, there we go. You're going to see my marking still on the screen. You are going to see something similar to this, right? So we've got the Morse code stuff here. So the two dots would represent an I. So there you go. So that's how you get to that point and solve it. Now for the rest of the spacing, what we've got is, where's that next one? Let me see real quick. Oh no, you're good. This part right here.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep, I'm trying to match it on screen to make it hopefully a little bit easier to see.
Yeah, because the Post-it's really tiny.
Yeah.
I tried holding it up for a little bit too, but I didn't want to distract too much from it all.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you how many spaces between each one?
So we've got one here, one here, and then it looks like 3. Then we got another 3. So there we go. I accidentally covered that up, but
erasing magic.
There you go. Right there. And then on this one, it's going to be, the spacing is right. If I can look correctly at stuff.
Technical difficulties.
It's been a little while since I've used this annotate and draw thing, so
it's got a lot of capabilities, but that's such tiny font, it makes it a lot more challenging.
Yeah. So, nope, not that space either. There we go. So, because it has a separate window that's open, basically. All right. So we got here, and then it splits here as well. And then it's already got a split here for you, and that is only one letter right there. So, and then The next point is right here. And then this one, this is why this was so difficult. I mean, there's just no spacing. So if you're looking at this right here, there's literally no spacing between those dots. I would have read that as that those were a part of the same letter, no matter what. Like every time I look at this, I still look at that as that it's the same letter when it's not. And so then you've got some spacing here as well. And then spacing goes here. And then the final line is going to have two spaces. So you're going, again, right here, like where there's two right up next to each other. It is very difficult to tell that that is supposed to be some kind of spacing, where over here, this is so spaced out, it makes it look like it's supposed to be spaced.
Like those were intentionally left squished together, which is not the case, apparently. Yep.
And then you also split there as well. So that is your spacing. Feel free, take a clip, take a screenshot, whatever you guys need to do to help you out in the case. Or in this episode. Now, if that is all, again, if you want to solve this on your own, hopefully maybe this little extra bit helps you out with that. And will help you get then to be able to find out what that message is. If you need a little bit further help, stick around. Second half of this video, we'll actually go through letter by letter and say what each letter is and how you translate it from the Morse code. So come back for that if that's what you need help with. All right, we'll get that cleared off. And next up we have is the postcard. So the postcard is really important in helping you with another cipher that is actually in episode 3. So Red Panda was able to get this one figured out. This one definitely took a little while. I never would have figured this out. Like, period. I can tell you that right now. You can feel free to comment down below about how much smarter Red Panda is, because it's true.
We compliment each other. Don't get me started.
So let's talk through a little bit about this one. So the last one was that the Morse code one was kind of pretty straightforward, but this is kind of iffy.
Yeah.
I mean, if
lots
we look
of steps,
at
lots and lots of steps.
let's pop open the hints maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sitting here trying to click on my
I can go through at least the part we had figured out, because we had gotten up to like putting this signal mirror that came in that same episode on the thing, and we'd gotten the center to show up, but we just weren't sure what to do with that during the episode.
Right.
And it took a lot of toying around to kind of find out what the hints were trying to tell us and how to go about doing it.
Absolutely.
I did not want to cheat. I did not want to lose twice. So I was determined to get at least one of these two solved myself.
Right. So basically you have two levels of hints that were in the web portion, right? So you actually have the hints that are labeled as signal mirror and the hints that are labeled as postcard. If you are wanting to use these hints prior to us even talking about the hints, I would recommend starting with the signal mirror hints to get you kind of a little bit in the right direction. If you start with the postcard hint, it kind of skips some steps and maybe a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
But basically, so looking at this page, what was kind of the first thing that we figured out?
I think you noticed that this kind of square area was very similar to the size of this mirror, and so we quickly realized that if you stick this on top of that it fits very nicely on it, and the letter N, which is also written a little bit bigger, shows up. But we were quite stuck on how that had to pertain to that, and how to pertain to that. So we did figure out, just based on the pure drawing schematics, that this would lay here and that an N is somehow important. It just took us a while beyond that to kind of find our way through it all.
Right. So those so if you're following along with the hints, that ties in with hint number 1 as well, right? So this item interacts with a coded message in one of the documents. Placing the signal mirror somewhere on the postcard, so this is hint number 2, will reveal an element of the code. A signal then mirror hint number 3 is that when the signal mirror is lined up with the brackets drawn on the postcard, the letter N can be seen through the hole in the middle. So that's this hole right here, the signal mirror. It highlights that letter N as well. Now, the part that we kind of struggled with was trying to figure out then what that N meant. So what did that N end up correlating to?
The N was a hint to viewing this as a compass.
Okay.
So north,
So north.
south, east, west.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So this is what. So the N is right here in the middle, and so that was then what was highlighted by the mirror, like we said,
Mm-hmm.
and then that you said was to indicate that this, the graph that's over here,
Mm-hmm.
was to be viewed as a compass, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. All right, perfect. And so just in case you guys couldn't, I mean, I think you might be able to see that perfectly fine. Actually, now that I'm looking at that, so I was worried people may not be able to see the camera side as much. So
I wasn't sure, but I figured I'd
Yeah.
leave it there just in case.
no, absolutely looks good. All right. And so what did we then figure out after that point?
So, kind of using what they gave us, it honestly took a lot of trial and error. But what we figured out was that when you look at the letters, so if you ever see like this kind of a symbol, this usually means some type of substitution cipher. We figured that out with tons of previous codes that we've done. It usually just means either A equals Y or Y equals A. So there's something with that. So I kind of went with what we knew. So they gave us a few plot points to start with. They had given us A, B, C, D, and E. And I kept seeing that they kind of went in a bit of a pattern.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, if you don't want to, I'm not going to give away the code yet, but we're going to get deeper into it. So if you needed just that little hint, start there and see what you come up with. But as I was kind of looking at the pattern, I realized that it was spiraling outward. I thought that was kind of interesting. And so I kind of played with it a bit.
So this is what you're talking about here. So where it goes from the A to the B,
Exactly.
to C,
Exactly.
D, E, and then
So I just played to see if the rest of the alphabet might fit on that.
right. Okay, perfect. So it spirals outward further as you follow this.
Yeah.
And then that's where then Red Panda was able to graph out and map out the letters for this graph. Okay.
Yeah. So we basically just went through and we actually slapped on all of the alphabetical letters in order as it spiraled. Which is still not even half of it. Just so we're clear. Still not even half of the
this
problem.
one was like we said, this one was a little rough trying to figure out. It took us a while.
I did do two different drawings just because it was, again, so hard to follow. So I did one where I took away the spiral part just so people could actually kind of see the letters. Forgive my handwriting. I don't have good handwriting. That's just very clearly understandable.
Okay.
But then I also kind of left the spiral on just to kind of show people how we did it.
Okay.
And so if that's all you needed and you want to try from here to solve it, by all means, because it gets you at least somewhat closer. But there was one other big key component with this that we figured out that was essential to solving it.
Yeah.
And that was that they kind of gave us a little bit of a code down here. I don't know if you see where my hand is. It kind of says a quick reminder, but below that is a bunch of random letters. So looking at these random letters, we need to figure out how to substitute for those. So the biggest thing that I thought was kind of interesting is I kind of took what they gave us. So they gave us A, B, C, and D. Those are the plot points they gave us and how they correspond to Y, U, Q, M.
Okay.
And what I noticed, and this is kind of the biggest spoiler without being an actual spoiler, this is like the final step you need to kind of figure this out. What I noticed is that when I was looking at the graph I had made up, Y, U, Q, M line up starting from north south. Does that make sense? So I happened to notice that the letters corresponded starting at the top going downward. Does that make sense how I'm explaining it, or do you think it needs
so this
to be
was
clarified
Y,
better? Yeah.
this was U.
Y, U, and then Q, M.
And then Q. And
Yep.
all right.
And then the others were I, E, and A.
And then this was I.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, A was Y.
Yep.
B. So let me do this. We'll grab. Okay. So essentially, A was Y. Then you went to B, which equaled U.
Yep.
And then C was Q, and then D was W. So,
or sorry, M.
Sorry,
M.
My handwriting with a mouse is.
You're good. I was laughing. I'm like, I think it was M.
Q, and then M, and then I. Okay, so and then E equaled I, right?
Let me double check myself. That sounds accurate.
Okay.
Sorry, hold on. Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
E equaled I, and then F would equal E. So that's kind of the way you go through that, as you follow it down.
Correct.
And now, so the next part, what did you do once you got to the center? So, like, because what I'm
If you're
seeing.
okay, can I back up for just a
Oh,
second?
yeah, absolutely.
So basically, like, in my head, once I saw the YUQM, like, in a line, I just decided I would write A, B, C, D, E, F just on a line, and then I would basically have Y transfer over, U transfer over, so it'd be A, B, C, D, just straight down. That was the
Right.
easiest way I could figure it out. And then from there, I had to play with it a little more to see how the east, south, and west ones all made sense.
Mhm.
But you basically started from the external, and you always move towards the internal of that section of the graph.
Okay. So once you got to, what was it?
So once we got to
E F equals E G equals A, right?
yeah, so that was where it stopped,
so-
and we went to the next section.
Okay. And so did you start with the one on the right, or did you
I
start with the one on
did.
the
I started
bottom?
on the one on the right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that makes kind of sense in the sense of with the following the spiral outward,
Exactly.
along with kind of like a compass of everybody usually phrases it as northeast, southwest. So that kind of makes sense then that you would move to this line next. That's right.
And that was a lot of troubleshooting, trial and error, and
this line is
caveats
next.
involved. Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah. And then once I finished that part of the alphabet, I went to the bottom and did the same thing. And so by the end of it, we got A through Z equals something else. We plotted all those points.
Correct.
Now we have to play with substituting them into the actual message, which is where we got one extra little perk of a bonus of confusion. That you helped me figure out why it was like that, because I couldn't understand what they were trying to get at. I figured it out through brute force.
Yeah.
But the hint was the mirror. Yes. Reflection. That's your code word. Reflection.
Yep.
So that was fun. Curveball.
Yeah. So A did not actually equal Y, correct?
Yeah.
So because of the mirror and things being reversed, right, in a mirror, then it had to be flipped. So it wasn't A equals Y, it was Y equals A, which does make a huge difference when trying to solve this cipher.
Yes.
So at this point, you should be able to solve the cipher that is on this postcard. Now, we'll switch over and a little bit here because we're going to do, I know at the beginning I said we would do the hints and then the reveals, and then, but I guess technically we're going to do it as hints, reveals, and then another hint / reveal at the same time, probably because of the other cipher. Because we can't tell them that answer quite yet. What we're going to do at this point is we will split this, this is
as much of a hinting as we can get to without spoilers.
I'll put I'm going to try to make a little like graphic that says spoiler to flash up on the screen right about now. We are officially, this is your last warning of that this is spoilers. If you were hoping to just get some hints at some stuff, then that is fine. But there will be one more hint section after these two spoiler sections. So we're going to go back to the safety protocols and take a look at these real quick. So we talked about in the previous section of the video that how to get to where we got. And now we're going to finish this out so that you can, if you need to, be able to get this and go on to the next portion. This is the final solve of this cipher. However, future episodes, you may need to know how to do this. So
it always builds on itself.
Yeah, exactly.
As we've learned, they always get harder, not easier.
Right. So we talked about basically, let's see, that if I can get my colors here, there we go. So.
Too. Yep.
Yep. So there was one here. I don't know why my coloring is not there, but
it is. It's gray.
Yeah, I don't know why it's gray and not.
It might be the default color unless you choose something different.
Yeah, that's what I tried doing, but that's okay. We'll go back over here and grab the paintbrush, and make this smaller. Okay. So we said that that was a section there, right?
Yep.
And so when you look at Morse code and split this apart, and so Red Panda's got a little handy dandy cheat sheet that we made ahead of time. So we've got those slashes on here. We can go ahead and kind of put down then for the letters. Yep.
All
so
right.
go ahead and put that down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at and go, step by step on these letters to be able to match this out, right? So 2 dots, right? That's where that first gap was. That is the letter I, right? So that is what that represents. After that, we had what, 3? Was there 3 of them?
For which part? Sorry.
For the next, for the letter G.
It was the 2 dots and then 3 dots. 3.
Okay.
Yep. 3.
So your next word was, or your next letter was ended right there, and that was for the letter G. So 2 dashes right here and a dot.
Yep.
So that's what this was G. Now, next up would be
a dash dot.
A dash dot.
Yep.
Right here, which, as you can see here on screen, goes to N, or the letter N. And then up next would be, I think, the O,
3
right?
dashes. Yep.
So there you go, and 3 dashes corresponds to the letter O. And then if you get further on, let's see, it should be an R, I think, right?
Yeah, you basically, that last little footprint's by itself, so you put a slash between the tiny 2 footprints at the end there.
Yep. So basically right here, and then this is the letter R. And so, letter R. That was I. All right. I'm not going to try to draw out all these other letters. So with that, then we get to the next word, which is down here on the next line. And so this is 3 here, and then you have a space.
Yep.
And then there was 2, and then another space, right? So we have 3 dashes, right? So 3 long ones. So that is the letter O. And then we have a dash and a dot, it looks like, which is the letter N. And then 1 single dot, which also matches up here, is the letter E, right? So ignore 1 would be the words then that are phrased with that.
Yeah.
The next letters, so this next one is, like I said in the beginning, this is already separated out for you. This is already just 1 letter. It's 2 dots, which is the letter I. So that's already spaced there with the line. And then where's our next? So
the next one is going to be 1 dash.
Okay. So right there.
Yep.
So.
Got a little carried away.
All right. So the dash, or the 1 dash, is for the letter T, which I think is hiding down here. Yep, there it is.
Yes, it is.
Let's do that. There we go. So letter T is just a single dash. So that's IT, and then which this is a separate word. That line that was already on the page is to indicate that this is a separate word. The way you know these other words are separated again is because they are on separate lines. And then what was our next 3 dots, or next dashes, I mean?
I'm trying to figure it out, actually. It's definitely an R. I'm just trying to figure out. It's a dot, dash, dot. Because this one we thought was a little funny looking, even though it's a dash, dot, dash, dot, blah, 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 blah.
Dot, dash, dot.
That. It doesn't look visually as much like a dot, dash, dot
that's
as
right.
it should.
So, here, let me...
this one really threw us for a second.
This,
it just did
I'm
not
going to...
look visually correct to me. Like,
so what so what Red Panda is talking about is actually right here. So
the absence of space.
Yeah. So there's literally no spacing there. Whereas and again, so to me, I would have looking at this, I kept putting the space right there. And that was because of the fact that these looked closer together, and then there was this bigger gap, and then these were closer together. And then I would have even put a space there, possibly. Or over here, maybe. But I would have read that as that, that's the way that was, and it wasn't.
Not even close, no.
So we know that this right here was the space. We've got here is... another, so that's 1 lettering. This right here is supposed to be the break.
Yeah.
There is no way.
We're not impressed with that. Just
no way that I would have ever figured that out. Well, that's supposed to be the break.
How do you think I got a different phrase than what it's supposed to be?
Right. I was in Boy Scouts growing up, right? Like, and I messed with Morse code stuff. And then there was like this old magazine called the Mad Magazine. And I learned Morse code because of the fact that in one of the Mad magazines, you had Spy versus Spy, and it was a little comic strip, right? But they always had in their story at the bottom, there was always this coded message that was in Morse code, and so you could always decipher it using Morse code, right? So, so that's why, like, I kind of, once they were like, "Oh, it's a dash and a dot," I was like, "Oh, Morse code." But then I also knew that there would need to be spacing. There had to be spacing between letters for you to decipher what the letters are.
And that was the biggest thing that threw us. It just made this impossible.
Even when we tried taking this and plugging it into an online like Morse code translator, it didn't work because it needed to know where the spacings were for the letters,
or else it would become a different letter, as I learned the hard way.
Yeah. So this was I, T, R, and then this is a U, which was
it should be dot dash, I believe.
Okay, dot dash. Here we go.
Yeah.
There we go. That was the U.
Dot, I believe.
And then this was an S, and then here's another dash right here, just like before.
Yeah.
So this was I trust. So ignore one, I trust, and then next up was
three symbols. Dash dot dash. It looks like it was it was four symbols.
So again, this was another
dash,
one
dot dash
where
dash.
Dash
dot dash dash.
Yeah. So another one of these where right here it looks like it's together as a one, but in reality. That split is right there. So that's a Y. And then this is split here for the O.
Yep.
And then this is the last of it here, which is U. So it basically the reveal is that it says ignore one, I trust you.
And again, this one we could not figure out. We gave it our all. I almost literally, down to except for like two letters, had an entire different message broken out, but I just couldn't get anything to match with the final last two letters. And when I looked to see how close I was, I realized I didn't even have one letter correct. It was very disappointing.
So I will say that if you want to then use this, I won't reveal this part, but if you do want to, because I think we actually even
I think we revealed in the specific episode that
in
episode
episode 3. Well, no, this we didn't know in episode 2. We didn't know there was more.
That's right. That's right.
So episode 3, I think we revealed it. So if you do need that reveal, then that's in our episode 3 episode.
I think you're the one that recognized that those look like footprints, and you're the one that figured out that footprint.
Yeah. So it definitely did look similar to like some kind of footprint. But so if you do want to know on this one, it is pretty simple. Hopefully you can see it well enough. It is all just one letter. That I will give you that as a hint. So you don't have to worry about words or anything like that. It's just one letter.
And that helps us know who that belonged to.
Correct. Yep. Okay. So that is how you solve the safety protocols cipher that I'm sure. Look, just let us know. Like if you're watching this because you had no idea how to do this.
Please make me feel better.
Please make us feel better and leave a comment down below.
It was awful.
Drop a like on the video and like just let us know that like that we weren't alone in this. Okay.
Yeah. That you felt the pain too.
Yeah. So next up is going to be the postcard reveal. So and we're going to do this reveal because this is what actually gives you the tie to a different cipher in this episode.
Once we figure out this code, we're going to use it on an entirely different page
to
figure out another
code. Where it says a quick reminder, what did that translate to?
So that translated to an old method.
An old method. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it sounded like it's hinting to a type of code.
Why? Because Y was A, B was in, right? So an old method. That's what this translates to here. Now, with that, there's another piece that comes in, another cipher that comes with this episode. I think we downloaded it from the from the desktop, from the
it was in Nigel's notes. I think we were able to log into Nigel's
That's right. Yeah, we
page.
had to log in under Nigel,
Yeah.
I think. So,
Yeah.
okay. So this is going to be a little bit more towards the hint, or well, I mean, the hint of this is essentially that use the an old method, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we noticed that these are notes of his that he's talking about uh, Conrad's old dissertation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a dissertation that he, from that was an early draft, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it an old dissertation. So that was I think what we kind of figured out after the fact may be what that tie is that Hunted Killer was trying to go for, of saying an old method for that translation, and then tying that back to this dissertation, which would then allow you to go through and solve the coded messages that are written on Conrad's early draft of his dissertation.
Which is this area.
So that is, so there's the signal mirror. That's what you'd be looking for the other stuff. But this is the code notes, right? So it shows up basically in photo format on your desktop, stuff that you can get online.
And I believe that form is still available in episode 3's Discord, correct? That was from episode 3.
This was from episode 3. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you're logged in on episode
yeah.
3, then yeah, as you get to go through episode 3, then you're going to learn how to log in, and then be able to obtain some information. So that's what this is from. And then because this is that old dissertation, we're going to use that same method to solve this. So basically, same thing. You would use that same cipher key that we created from the postcard to solve this.
And we kind of figured out in hindsight the other tie-in. Once I solved the original cipher, was like, let's plug it into this one and see if it works too. And when it did, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But they kind of gave you a little bit of a hinty to get you started in case you were stuck on the other one, which made sense in hindsight. I just didn't connect those dots at the time. I was too determined.
Let me check this, because I'm looking at this and I don't even know that I see.
I don't think there's any hints about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there is. There's literally just, it says university portal.
Yeah.
Hint number 2, that one of the documents found on this new account has a coded message that can be solved using what you learn in this episode.
Yeah.
So basically, that's then also giving you the hint that the postcard of what you learned from the postcard is what you'd use to solve this. So with that, then we know. So this is
the correct one.
Is that correct? Okay,
yes.
Perfect.
And so basically, he had left some ideas, just ways to try it again in case you were super stuck. So if there was like 2 options, I scrolled out the one that was not appropriate once I plugged everything in. But again, I want to reiterate, in case it still is a little confusing, when we finished the graph, and I kind of have it written both ways just for simplicity, we realized that A did not equal Y. Y equaled A. It's a one-way translation. So as we wrote the whole alphabet down, all the plot points, this was the north to south, this was the east to west, this was the from south to north, and then this was the west to east.
Right.
And so that's how we got to that point. And so I had to literally rewrite it because it kept confusing me because it only works one direction. Yeah. And so I used that to plug it into this chart to then solve the code message, which was this right here. Yeah,
and you do see, like, once you do plug it in, if you use these notes here, where he's questioning whether V might equal I or might equal A, it actually does equal I. C, I think, equaled T, right?
Yep.
So this is also to help you gather that these are all tied together.
Yeah. And it helps you kind of understand. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
He just had tried all these normal ciphers, and that was the big hint of the old method. Like, we've learned Caesar, Adabash, QWERTY, and non-standard substitution from previous episodes, from other episodes, not Moon Summit specifically, but just from Curtain Call, Mallory Rock, you name it. Yeah. And so you get very good at code breaking. But this one definitely was still a pretty good challenge. This one was very hard. And we definitely could not get it done in a timely manner.
Yeah, and you can see his, he tried using Caesar, he tried using Adabash, QWERTY, right? Like, you can see those where he tried and no valid conclusions tell you that, yeah, Caesar's not going to work on any of these, right? So if you are looking to solve this on your own and see what that message is, then stop right here, right? So that should get you where you need to go and be able to help you with that.
Yeah,
so this is again is for the notes that are on the university portal. If you want to know, then if you need the next step, then that's fine. Stick around for a couple seconds here, and we will go over that. Okay. So with this, so basically, what was the end result?
So the end result, so say you start with B, you come over to here, and you find B and you go to N. So N, and then W would be O.
Okay.
C would be T, so not. So I'm just gonna
right,
fast forward,
yeah,
obviously. Yeah. But not enough proof. And this is Conrad speaking from what we can gather.
Yeah.
Nigel found this in Conrad's
notes,
dissertation.
Yeah, because it was the dissertation itself that he supposedly found,
made these
and there were
coded
notes that were on the side of the rough draft.
Yeah.
So we are ascertaining that this is Conrad's notes on his rough draft.
That's what we're assuming.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not enough proof. Is this wrong? The ghost length has to be real.
Okay. So definitely some interesting stuff definitely very, very interesting things coming from that. So, yep. Okay. That should be it. So, unfortunately, a little bit longer than I thought it would take to explain everything, but as we explained at the beginning, these were very difficult ciphers. But hopefully this helps you out.
And helps you realize you're not alone. It's very worth it.
Exactly. And helps us, hopefully. Again, let us know in the comments that we're not alone. Yeah. So that we don't feel so bad. Hopefully this helps you get through that. So if this video helped you out, please, let us know down below. Feel free to drop a like. We'd love it if you subscribed for our other videos as well. Next video up on YouTube will be after this one. Will be episode 4 for Moon Summit. So we'll get that up and going as well. So stay safe, and I think above all else, we'll make sure you stay strange. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out and learning how to solve these ciphers. See you next time.